Being poor is not just about money. Being poor is being trained to suffer from the moment you open your eyes. It is being taught to swallow humiliation, to wear invisibility like a uniform, to see suffering as virtue and crumbs as miracles. That's the real poison. Poverty doesn't start with empty pockets, it starts in the mind. It starts when the first words you hear are, "Don't dream too big, this isn't for you." When your mother, exhausted and beaten by life, whispers, "Be grateful for what you have." When your father, hollowed out by defeat, says, "Those who try too much always fail." Poverty begins in the cradle, in the arms of those who love you but love you through fear, love that chains, love that conditions, love that becomes a silent sentence. From the start, life is presented to you as a trap. The world is a field where others play freely while you learn to shuffle, bow, and disappear. You learn that life is about surviving, not living. You learn obedience, not thought. You learn that being poor is noble as long as you never question it. That is the cruelest trick. And the most cruel thing? The poor accept it willingly. They hand it down to their children like a recipe, repeating the same words that shackled them. Be humble, take what comes, don't ask for too much, don't upset anyone. Health is enough, better little than nothing. Those who want more are doomed to disappointment. And one day, you find yourself saying these words to your own children. The chains become invisible but unbreakable. Do you know the shocking truth? The system doesn't need to lock you up anymore. You do it yourself. The chains have become habit. Fear has become moral. Poverty has become identity. And every act of obedience, every act of acceptance, every sigh of "I can't" is a brick in the prison walls you call life. The poor are born in debt. Before the first step, the first cry, the first breath, they already owe silence, obedience, and apology for existing. That is the root. A child born poor is molded to accept less than life has to offer, while the rich are encouraged to explore, to ask, to fail, to dream. The poor are contained, corrected, cautioned, and hurried. Don't touch that, you'll break it. Be quiet, adults are talking. Sit still, no one wants a troublemaker. These are not just words, they are tattoos on the soul, small daily cuts that teach you curiosity is dangerous, imagination is a threat, questions are rebellion. And it's not only what is said, it's what is missing. No books, no conversations about the world, no mistakes allowed, no time to wander. Only survival, only repetition, only the minimum. Would you call these inherited behaviors habits, values, perceptions, and routines unconsciously passed down? In the poor child, these habits are poisoned from birth. They point you toward failure before you've even learned to walk. Social structure is etched into your bones. And the cruelest part? It all happens inside a home full of love, real love. But a love scarred by scarcity, by fear, by exhaustion. This child grows up knowing their parents love them, but also knowing that love has limits. That toys are improvised, that dreams are improvised, that the outside world is vast, but not for you. These limits become beliefs. I can't becomes I mustn't. There's no way now becomes there will never be a way. This isn't for us becomes identity. Here's a fact few dare to speak out loud. Poverty kills curiosity. And without curiosity, thought dies. Paulo Freire said education is the act of making the world intelligible. But what is given to poor children is obedience, not understanding. They're not taught to explore, they're taught to obey. Not taught to reflect, they're taught to be quiet. The boy who asks too many questions is called annoying. The girl who dreams too loudly is called cheeky. Every day the mind is pruned. Every day the wings are clipped. Thinking, speaking, dreaming too much of any of these is punished. Years later, when this child becomes an adult, they will still feel guilt for stepping outside the lines. And if someone tries to help them break free, they are often the first to reapply the chains because the prison has become their comfort, their identity. The crime is perfect. The prison teaches you to love the bars. The poor enter school with hope and leave trained to obey, to remain silent, to accept the unacceptable. School is sold as the great equalizer, but for millions of poor children, it's a factory of submission. The child born in the periphery arrives late, and the public school gives them nothing but exhaustion, overcrowding, and low expectations. Culture is not taught. Critical thinking is not nurtured. Silence is enforced. The school, as Halthusser said, is an ideological apparatus teaching the young to uphold the structure that will trap them. Memorize what you do not understand. Write what the teacher expects. Obey. Be invisible. Fail quietly. If a child dares to think differently, they are a threat to the system, to their peers, to themselves. In the classroom, intelligence becomes a liability. Too curious? Arrogant. Too ambitious? Spoiled. Too smart? Trouble. The classroom is a minefield, and students police each other, replicating the chains they already carry. This is the psychology of the colonized, as Frantz Fanon explained. Oppression teaches the oppressed to distrust themselves, to punish themselves, to fear freedom. That's why young people who try to learn are mocked, know-it-all, snob, overambitious. School, which should expand the mind, instead contracts it into obedience. And when it ends, what remains? A diploma that means nothing, a broken sense of self, a mind trained to follow, not to create. Jobs are accepted because options are invisible.
Work that crushes the body is celebrated as virtue. Survival is mistaken for success. And the most dangerous part? The poor themselves internalize the oppression. The phrases are repeated. Better a bad job than no job. Better to endure than to risk. Be thankful you have even this little. This is not philosophy. It is programming. The body suffers, but the mind defends it. Waking up at 4 a.m., enduring humiliation, being paid pennies, these are now badges of honor. Resistance is erased. Compliance is morality. Obedience is heroism. But heroism is killing yourself slowly. Faith is weaponized. It anesthetizes, instructs, controls. Suffer now. Glory awaits in heaven. God is testing you. Don't rebel. Be thankful for what you have. Wanting more becomes sin. Questioning becomes arrogance. Dreaming becomes ingratitude. Nietzsche called this the moralization of suffering. Turn pain into virtue, and the weak will obey. The poor are trapped, not just by the system, but by the culture of their own endurance, by pride and suffering. They smile while dying inside. They post selfies to prove existence. They buy what they cannot afford to feel alive. The system doesn't just take their labor, it demands compliance, invisibility, self-erasure. And when the poor push back, they are called ungrateful, spoiled, arrogant. Their attempt to exist is punished. Consumption becomes the only way to be seen. Phones, shoes, cars, status symbols bought with money that could have changed their life, spent on recognition instead of freedom. Advertisers sell identity, not products. You deserve this. You can do this. You are worthy. But it's a trap. You are seen only as a consumer, never as a creator, never as a person. Status becomes survival. The poor buy visibility at the cost of escape, and the cycle repeats. The child grows into a parent, teaching the same caution, the same fear, the same obedience. Love, distorted by scarcity, becomes a manual of restraint, not freedom. The parents who endured teach their children endurance, not liberation. They hold them back, not out of cruelty, but out of fear, and the chain is passed on. The first in the family to break the cycle faces dual consciousness, a desire for freedom and fear of losing family, culture, belonging. They may enter a university, speak differently, dress differently, and suddenly belong nowhere. Family sees them as alien. The world sees them as intruder. Freedom is terrifying, and many retreat. The guilt of leaving keeps them tethered. The fear of betraying their roots keeps them chained. This is the inheritance of poverty, not just scarcity, but guilt, fear, limitation, obedience, resignation, and shame. To leave poverty is to face not only the outside world, but the ghosts of all who came before. And that is the harshest truth. Leaving is more painful than staying. If you've read this far, just stopping to hear it is resistance. To confront these truths is bravery. The faintest spark inside you that wants more, that believes escape is possible, this is the beginning of change. Share this truth, wake others, break chains. Every awareness is a crack in the wall, every action a step toward liberation. When the poor child becomes a teenager, the world doesn't become kinder, it becomes sharper, colder, heavier. The school that was meant to elevate them has already taught them their place: obedience, silence, invisibility. The classroom was a training ground. Memorize, conform, obey, don't question, don't dream. But the outside world is a battlefield, and the lessons they learned inside, lessons of limitation, caution, fear, follow them like shadows. The poor teenager enters the labor market with scar tissue in their mind. Every failure is internalized. Every insult becomes a confirmation of what they were taught as children. You aren't enough. You don't deserve more. Don't try to outrun the life you were given. And the system doesn't need to beat them with chains anymore. They've learned to do it themselves. The first jobs are humiliating. Wages are insultingly low. Bosses are dismissive, coworkers resentful, and still they are told, be grateful you have work. The poor accept it, internalize it, repeat it to themselves. Suffering is character. Endurance is virtue. Complaining is sin. And then comes the body. Oh, the body. It bends, it breaks, it tires. Long hours, minimal pay, poor nutrition, no health care. The body becomes a machine to be exploited. The mind becomes a justifier. This is normal. This is life. I chose this. And in choosing, they convince themselves of honor in submission, pride in endurance, dignity in exhaustion. But the reality is clear, if one dares to see it. The system doesn't just take their work, it takes their soul. And the more they resist seeing it, the more invisible they become. The more compliant they are, the more the world smiles at their suffering. Then there is faith. Faith, when twisted, becomes one of the sharpest weapons of control. Suffer now, glory later. God is testing you. Don't question, don't complain. Be grateful for what little you have. Faith becomes an anesthetist for ambition. It tells the poor that wanting more is sin, that asking for justice is arrogance, that dreaming is ingratitude. The young worker is trained to see oppression as virtue, exhaustion as morality, and submission as character. Nietzsche called this the moralization of suffering. Pain as merit, suffering as noble, the weak convinced they deserve it. And so the cycle is reinforced in the streets, in neighborhoods, in families. The poor pass these lessons on to their children, not out of cruelty, but because fear masquerades as care. Don't dream too big, child. Stay close, stay safe, don't make waves. The advice is love twisted into restraint. A legacy of caution, taught in whispers, taught in sighs, taught in the lines of exhaustion on a parent's face.
The parent is not evil. They are trapped in the same chains, forged by the same system, programmed by the same fear. But the result is devastating, a new generation born into the invisible prison of obedience. And then comes consumerism, the cruelest seduction of all. The poor are denied power, but taught to perform power. Phones, clothes, cars, status symbols bought with money that could have been used to escape. Advertisers promise validation, self-worth, identity. You deserve this. You are worthy. You can have it all. But what they actually sell is illusion, a mask of freedom that costs more than it gives. The poor buy visibility instead of freedom. They wear success like armor because society refuses to see them as humans, and in doing so, they often sabotage the very life they could build. Money spent on status is money not spent on skills, on learning, on liberation. And the body continues to pay. Long shifts, low wages, humiliation, exhaustion. The poor smile, post selfies, laugh at jokes that sting, pretend they are content. Pride becomes armor, endurance becomes virtue. They justify every slight, every injustice, every humiliation. This is life, they say. But in truth, this is slow self-erasure, a daily concession to a system that profits from their compliance. The cycle repeats itself in families. Children are raised to fear ambition. Don't dream too big, it will hurt you. Stay close, stay safe, don't ask too many questions. Parents who have been broken by the system teach fear as love. And so the next generation grows up with a GPS set to poverty, their potential locked behind invisible bars. They carry the weight of ancestors who never broke free, of parents who survived but never thrived, of communities trained to accept the acceptable, to normalize the unbearable. And there's another layer that is rarely spoken, the psychological violence of shame. The poor are shamed for what they cannot control, where they were born, what they inherited, how their parents survived. Intelligence becomes arrogance, ambition becomes folly, aspiration becomes vanity, peers police each other, the system trains them to distrust themselves, friends envy, mock, or sabotage anyone who dares to dream bigger. The poor learn quickly that curiosity is dangerous, that intelligence is risky, that stepping outside the lines can cost everything. The mind becomes a jailer, and the heart becomes a witness to its own suppression. And yet the poor continue to survive. They endure, they laugh, they work, they sacrifice, they obey. And all the while they tell themselves stories that justify the injustice. At least I have work, at least I am alive, at least I am grateful. Survival is elevated to heroism, endurance becomes morality, obedience becomes pride. But the truth is grimmer than any story they tell themselves. The system doesn't need to oppress them. They oppress themselves. They enforce the chains, hand them to their children, and call it love. And here's the cruelest truth of all. Breaking free is terrifying. The first person in a family to attempt change faces dual punishment. Family sees them as distant, ungrateful, dangerous. Society sees them as intruders, out of place, arrogant, different. To escape poverty is to confront generations of fear, guilt, shame, obedience, and distorted love. And many cannot bear it. They retreat, they self-sabotage, they return to the comfort of chains. Because leaving poverty isn't just about wealth, it's about confronting the ghosts of everyone who came before. So the cycle continues. The poor remain poor, not only in resources, but in opportunity, curiosity, freedom, imagination, and courage. They remain poor in dreams deferred, potential suppressed, identities stifled, hearts contained, minds policed. They work, pay, endure, obey, survive, and call it living. They train their children to do the same. And the system smiles. Not because it must, but because it doesn't need to. The poor have become their own jailers. Every selfie, every show of status, every purchase bought on credit, every mask of happiness is a desperate plea for recognition, a silent scream for existence, a temporary illusion of freedom. The poor wear it because society refuses to see their humanity, their effort, their struggle. And they pay with their potential, they pay with their time, they pay with their souls. And the worst part? Most never realize it. They justify the chains. They decorate their prison. They pass it on as tradition, as love, as guidance. The body suffers. The mind rationalizes. The cycle repeats. Endurance becomes heroism. Silence becomes virtue. Poverty becomes identity. And the system doesn't lift a finger. It doesn't need to. The chains are invisible. The prisoner guards themselves. And so generations suffer, obey, survive, and call it life. But there is hope. Just reading these truths is already a crack in the wall. Awareness is the first rebellion. Sharing this knowledge, questioning inherited obedience, refusing to normalize suffering, that is the start of liberation. Breaking the cycle requires courage, confrontation, and an uncompromising look at the inherited fear, guilt, and obedience that binds the poor to a life they didn't choose. The trap tightens as the poor enter adulthood. By now, the body has been trained, the mind disciplined, the heart tamed. They are ready for the modern world, but the modern world is built to consume, exploit, and invisibilize them. Every billboard, every ad, every social media post whispers the same lie. You deserve more. You can have it all. You are worthy. But it's a trap. It's bait. The system sells illusion disguised as hope, and the poor bite it because they were trained to seek recognition at any cost. Phones, designer clothes, flashy cars, symbols of freedom, symbols of success, symbols of life itself are bought not from joy, but from desperation. Desperation to exist, to be seen, to claim space in a world that taught them they are invisible. Every purchase is a scream, look at me, I exist, I am here. But the cost is devastating. Money that could lift them out of poverty, education, business, skills, opportunity goes instead to status that doesn't empower. Consumption becomes the anesthetic for a life denied. And the system doesn't just allow it, it encourages it, because a consumer in debt is far more manageable than a free mind. Work, meanwhile, is no longer just survival. It is ritualized suffering. Early mornings, long shifts, back-breaking labor, minimal pay. The poor are taught to endure it as if endurance itself is virtue. They post selfies with tired smiles, memes about low wages, jokes about exhaustion. They laugh because they must. They endure because they've been trained to see resistance as arrogance, ambition as danger, asking for fairness as disloyalty. Survival is celebrated as achievement, pain is moralized as character, and pride is manufactured from misery. And this is where faith, distorted and weaponized, tightens its grip. God, religion, destiny, they are sold as comfort, but in reality, they are shackles. This suffering is a test, this poverty is a blessing. Don't question, don't complain, don't desire more than your share. Faith becomes the glue that keeps obedience intact. To want more is sin, to dream bigger is arrogance, to protest is disgratitude. The poor internalize this as morality, repeating it to themselves, repeating it to their children, repeating it to anyone who dares imagine escape. And now, the psychological chains become stronger. Shame and guilt are weaponized. The poor are shamed for what they cannot change, their background, their accent, their family, their limitations. Ambition is ridiculed, education is mocked. Dreams are diminished, intelligence becomes arrogance, curiosity becomes threat. Any attempt to step beyond the script is punished, not by law, not by authority, but by peers, by family, by internalized fear. The poor become both prisoner and warden. The oppression is self-replicating. The cruel truth is this: poverty isn't just material, it is cultural, psychological, spiritual. It lives in the habits, in the words, in the silences, in the unspoken rules that govern every choice. The poor are taught that safety is obedience, that survival is heroism, that endurance is morality. They are trained to defend their own chains. They teach their children the same. And by the time they are adults, they are already a product of 4 or 5 generations of compliance. The chains are invisible, but they are real, permanent, and heavy. And then comes modern society, the digital age, where everything is performance. Social media doesn't liberate, it magnifies the illusion. The poor display success in filtered frames, likes, curated selfies. They show the expensive phone, the shiny shoes, the flashy car, but beneath the surface, debt grows, stress grows, the body and mind weaken. Every post is a cry for validation, a desperate attempt to assert existence, a scream for recognition in a world that still refuses to see them. Consumption becomes a psychological coping mechanism. Every purchase, every image, every boast is designed to prove worth, but it often ensures that real freedom remains just out of reach. And the system knows this. Marketing doesn't sell products, it sells identity, hope, validation, self-worth, the very things the poor were denied by birth. Advertisements play like mirrors. Look at what you deserve, look at who you could be. But it's always just out of reach, always expensive, always dependent on resources they don't have. And so the cycle of desire, debt, and shame perpetuates itself generation after generation. Meanwhile, the school systems continue to fail. Public education for the poor is not designed to empower but to domesticate. Overcrowded classrooms, exhausted teachers, limited resources. The curriculum is taught, but comprehension is optional. Memorization is praised, questions are discouraged. Critical thinking is punished. Those who dare to ask too much, read too much, dream too loudly are ostracized, mocked, and silenced. The system teaches obedience, not thought. The classroom becomes a rehearsal for life in poverty. And yet, in families, the trap is reinforced quietly, subtly, invisibly. Parents who survive the same suffering pass on caution as love, fear as care. Don't dream too much, child. Stay close, stay safe, don't upset anyone. The advice is sincere, but it is programming, an invisible leash that ensures the next generation remains obedient, limited, and contained. Children learn that ambition is dangerous, curiosity is perilous, questioning is risky. They learn that the world beyond their neighborhood is not for them, and any attempt to step beyond the boundaries is betrayal. And for those who break free, the consequences are intense. The first in the family to attend university, start a business, or move away often experience alienation on 2 fronts. Family sees them as different, ungrateful, strange. Society sees them as intruders, outsiders, arrogant. Freedom is isolating, success is lonely. The price of breaking the cycle is confrontation, not just with the system, but with the ghosts of generations, the expectations of family, and the inherited guilt of survival. Many retreat, many sabotage themselves, many return to chains because leaving is more painful than staying. This is the harshest truth. The poor are trapped not just by poverty, but by the culture of endurance, obedience, and shame. They are chained by fear, guilt, habit, and love twisted by scarcity. They survive, they obey, they endure, and they call it living. They teach it to their children. They normalize the unbearable. And the system does not need to intervene. The poor are already perfect prisoners. Consumption, faith, work, family, school, each plays a role in the chain. Status symbols mask despair. Social media masks fear. Faith masks control.
Labor masks exploitation. Love masks restriction. And through it all, the poor continue to survive, justify, rationalize, and repeat the cycle. Endurance is celebrated, suffering is moralized, compliance is praised. And the world smiles at their suffering, not because it must, but because it no longer needs to. But there is hope. Awareness is the first act of rebellion. Recognizing the chains, confronting the cultural programming, seeing the inherited fear and guilt, this is the beginning of freedom. Sharing these truths, discussing them, breaking the silence, questioning the narrative, this is resistance. Every realization is a crack in the invisible prison. Every act of questioning, of demanding more, of dreaming bigger is a blow to the system. This is not just about money. It is about identity, about courage, about reclaiming the right to exist fully, freely, consciously. Breaking the cycle of poverty is not just economic. It is psychological, emotional, spiritual. It is about refusing to teach obedience, fear, and limitation to the next generation. It is about rejecting the false morality of suffering. It is about saying, I am more than my environment. I am more than my upbringing. I am more than what they told me I could be. Breaking free is not glamorous. It is painful. It is isolating. It is terrifying. Because when you begin to see the chains, you realize they are everywhere, not just in the system, not just in the economy, not just in other people, but inside yourself. The fear, the obedience, the guilt, the self-limitation, they have been programmed into you since birth, and dismantling them feels like tearing yourself apart. The first step is awareness, to recognize that surviving, enduring, obeying, and accepting is not virtue. It is conditioning. That the pride in making do is often misguided, that humility taught as morality can be a trap, and that being grateful for crumbs does not make you noble, it makes you compliant. Once you see this, everything changes. Every relationship, every habit, every belief comes under scrutiny. And that's where the pain begins. Because those who taught you to obey, the ones you love, they will seem flawed, broken, trapped, complicit. Love itself can feel like betrayal. This is the cruel paradox of escape. To become free, you must confront everything that shaped you. Your family's fear, your community's caution, your own internalized obedience, your faith when used as a leash, your pride in endurance, your validation through consumption. Every step forward is haunted by guilt. Every attempt at self-liberation carries whispers of, you are abandoning us, you are arrogant, you are selfish. And yet, there is no other way, because the alternative is to remain a prisoner, to live a life of silent suffering, masked compliance, and hollow pride, to pass on the chains to your children, to remain poor not only in wealth, but in imagination, freedom, courage, and hope. Breaking the cycle is not optional if you want to live fully. The system does not want you to break free. It does not want the chains removed because the chains are convenient. They are efficient. The poor do not need to be forced. They are already domesticated. They pay for their own exploitation. They enforce obedience. They justify suffering. They train their children to accept the same fate. And when one dares to question, to rebel, to escape, they are isolated, criticized, silenced, because the system knows a free mind is dangerous, a questioning heart is dangerous, a child who dreams big is a threat. And this is where the horror becomes personal. The poor are not just exploited by economics, they are enslaved by culture, fear, guilt, obedience, and the distorted love of their own parents. Generations repeat the same mistakes, the same lessons, the same cautious limitations. Every attempt at self-liberation feels like betrayal, loneliness, and rage. Many fail, retreating into the comfort of obedience, of normalized suffering.
Some succeed, but only after paying a psychological, emotional, and social price that no one warned them about. But for those who persist, there is a transformation. Awareness becomes a sword, cutting through programming, cutting through fear, cutting through guilt. Questioning becomes a shield, protecting against manipulation, exploitation, and self-sabotage. Curiosity becomes a compass, guiding toward freedom, knowledge, and growth. Ambition becomes a light, showing what is possible when obedience is discarded and courage embraced. Freedom is not just money. It is thought, identity, voice, agency, and possibility. It is the refusal to accept what was taught as natural or inevitable. It is the refusal to teach your children fear disguised as love. It is the refusal to wear pride in suffering as a badge of honor. It is the ability to see the system for what it is, a trap, and to refuse participation in the trap. And yes, breaking free is shocking, painful, lonely, and relentless. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is compliance, normalization of suffering, and the slow decay of mind, body, and soul. The alternative is living as a ghost in your own life, smiling, surviving, but never thriving. The alternative is legacy as imprisonment, chains passed silently from one generation to the next. So here is the final truth. Poverty begins not with lack, but with belief. Belief that you are small, belief that you are unworthy, belief that endurance is virtue, belief that obedience is morality, belief that suffering is normal, belief that asking for more is arrogance, belief that dreaming bigger is ingratitude. The system does not need to trap you because you already do it yourself. And the second truth is breaking free is a confrontation. Confrontation with parents, community, culture, self. Confrontation with fear, guilt, shame, obedience, and the distorted love that kept you small. Confrontation with social norms, rituals, lies, and invisible chains. It is not polite. It is not easy. It is radical. And it is necessary. Finally, here is the most haunting truth of all. Freedom is not just liberation from poverty, it is liberation from inheritance itself. The inheritance of fear, the inheritance of obedience, the inheritance of normalized suffering, the inheritance of subtle, invisible, generational programming that convinces you to survive instead of live. Every step toward freedom is a rebellion against your own history. And yes, rebellion is painful, but it is the only way to truly exist. So, if you are watching this and something inside you is burning, questioning, aching, longing, you have already taken the first step. To see the chains is resistance. To feel the pain is awakening. To question the inherited obedience is revolution. And if you continue, if you push forward, if you dare, you can become the first in your family not just to survive, but to truly live. And then one day, your children may watch you and for the first time learn that suffering is not inevitable. Obedience is not virtue, endurance is not morality, and fear is not love. They may inherit freedom, not chains. They may inherit curiosity, courage, and possibility instead of shame, silence, and limitation. And that is how the cycle is finally broken. So, if this has shaken you, if it has burned a fire inside your chest, if it has made you question everything you were taught, share it, speak it, teach it, resist quietly, loudly, daily, because the chains are strongest in silence. They are broken by voice, awareness, and courage. Every act of questioning, every act of rebellion, every dream bigger than your inheritance is a crack in the prison wall, and those cracks, over time, become freedom. Remember this. Poverty is not lack. It is programming. The body can be weak, the bank account empty, the world hostile, but the mind, once awakened, can never be fully chained again. And that is the most dangerous thing for the system and the most powerful for you. You have already survived the first act, listening. You have survived the awareness. Now survive the next act, confrontation, courage, and liberation. Everything else, the money, the work, the society, follows, but only after the might is freed. This is the reality no one tells you. Harsh, brutal, unforgiving, but true. And only by facing it fully, without flinching, without rationalizing, without hiding, can you begin to write your own story, break the cycle, and finally live.